What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Drama. In today's episode, instead of just ranting, I decided it might be kind of cool to tell a story. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me know if y'all like it, because if you do, I'll continue. If not, I'll probably still do it anyway, because I'm going to do what I want. I'm playing. Anyway, let's get into the video. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been jumped? Because I have. Multiple times, actually. But this particular story takes place back in first grade. Now, don't get me wrong, first grade, you know, it's nothing really to be too memorable. But this incident has stayed in my mind since it took place. Because I was about 6 at the time. And I guess you could say this was pretty traumatic. First grade wasn't necessarily the best school year of my life. And maybe it would have been if it weren't for these evil-ass kids who decided to punch me on the playground. Aside from having to deal with multiple bullies, the year was already pretty strange to start off with, because at this point in my life, my dad had just made enough money for me, him, and my sister to move out of my uncle's house and into this certain area that we weren't exactly familiar with, but it was close to the school, so it just so happened to be really convenient considering summer was about to end and we were going to start school soon. So, because of this, I was going to school with a lot of, how do you say, lack of black people. I guess that's the best way to put it. And you might be like, okay, what's the big deal? Because the neighborhood was literally full of rich, white, and Indian kids, both who went to my school and lived in the neighborhood, you know? And it would have been a big deal if their parents weren't so adamant about keeping them away from my family, you know? It's just like, what did I do? I'm 6, like. But yeah, man, these families were pretty serious about not letting me be social with their children, you know? Couldn't play with them, couldn't talk to them, and I would barely see any of them outside unless it was nighttime. And you know what? That's kind of weird. What if I was living in like a cult neighborhood? That would be kind of crazy. But anyway, theories aside, it should go without saying that this school year was going to be very devoid of any social interaction, and, well, at least with anybody who wasn't my sister at the time. So, at the end of summer, you know, I was getting prepared to go to school, and I was ready. I felt like I was ready because I hadn't been in school in a while. Summer was fun, kinda. Spent a lot of time just chilling on the couch and eating popsicles. Pulling up to school had to be one of the most exciting things for me ever, at least in first grade. Because, you know, as the years go on, your brain just gets more and more deteriorated, and you realize how many stupid people you have to deal with, and school just becomes all the more depressing. But at the time, when I was 6, I was really excited, because when I pulled up to the school, I got to see how big it was, and it just, y'all ever seen Recess? It looked exactly like that school, size-wise, you know, it was huge, or at least I thought, because I was like 2 feet tall, and I saw life as a cartoon, so that might have also affected how I viewed school. Anyway, I enthusiastically hopped out of the car, and I think my dad was probably just as excited as I was, because he didn't have to worry about some big-headed, hyperactive little kid bouncing around the hallways in our new home. But he walked me through the gates to my class, and then boom, my first day started. I sat there, you know, staring around at the classroom, just, you know, placing my eyes on everybody to see, like, oh, who can I be friends with? Who's this person? Who's that person? See even if I recognized anybody. And I actually did. There was one of the Indian girls who I rarely saw in my neighborhood, but I knew she existed, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go and see what's up with her. Then I continued browsing through the classroom, and then red alerts started popping off, just boom, 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 beep, 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 beep. And then I felt hostility. I locked eyes with this other kid, and it just so happened to be the only other black kid in the class. Like, why is it always us that have to give each other a bad rap? As I'm looking at this kid, he starts smiling, and then his smile turns into a boisterous, loud laugh. And I was like, what's so funny? But he turned his head, and he continued talking to the kid behind him. So my eyes just, you know, scrolled over to the dude that he was talking to, and then beep, 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 boom, boom, boom. I couldn't help but get the feeling of hostility from the other kid too. So, next thing I know, before the teacher walks into the classroom, the black kid I noticed, who we'll call Kevin, I guess. He came up to me with the other kid who he was talking to, who we'll call John, which was his actual name. And if you ever see this video, fuck you. Anyway, Kevin asked me, "Hey, what's your name?" And me, being the enthusiastic little kid I was, I happily replied, "My name is Andre." John goes, "Well, Andre, you got a big-ass head." As they walked away, back to their desk, I sat there just looking at the ceiling, confused as to what I had just been subjected to. Because I was 6, bro. Like, what am I supposed to say? The only people I know who say cuss words are, like, niggas in movies. And my dad. Like, if Vinland Saga taught me anything, it's that I have no enemies. Or so I thought. Because these niggas were definitely out to get me. So, class goes on, and my teacher rambled on about whatever she was talking about. I don't remember. I was 6, and I also probably didn't care. Then recess came around. And, you know, at this point, I managed to somehow make 2 friends with some other kids that I met in the classroom. One named Charles, who was short and bald, kind of looked like Vin Diesel, but he was very scrawny. Yeah, just food for thought. And the other kid was named Stefan. He was tall, real tall, and quite round, I'll say. So we sat together and ate during recess, but as we sat there laughing and talking about whatever 6-year-olds were talking about at the time, you know, we were having fun. Life was good, or so I thought. After we ate, the yard duties back in my school, they did this thing where they would have all the kids line up in front of the cafeteria area and answer a question to see who was paying attention in class, or, you know, something like that. So they asked how to spell the color yellow, and I was like, what am I, 6? I know how to spell this shit. So I raised my hand and proceeded to spell the color. And with that done, I was the first person to go to recess. And my favorite thing to do at the time was go to the monkey bars. So, you know, that's where I headed. Then, as I'm waiting for my friends, you know, Stefan and Charles to come around the corner, instead, I am greeted with pure 6-year-old, unadulterated, filthy, snot-nosed evil. In other words, I just ran into these mean-ass niggas I met in the classroom. 4 of them, yeah, 2 more than the ones who insulted me in the class, started to slowly approach me. As they started walking towards me, I was just increasingly more confused. Because who the fuck are Justin and Justin? I got assaulted by 2 people in the classroom. Where did y'all come from? Why do you have a problem with me? What is this? And I was like, y'all don't even know who I am. And then they were like, that don't matter. You still have elf ears. You still have a big head. And then they started throwing punches. And bro, I was not prepared for this. John hit me with this right hook, hit me right in my chin. So I bounced back a little bit, and then I turn around, and then one of the Justins is behind me, and then he pushes me, and then Kevin proceeds to kick me in my stomach, and I'm like, yeah, no, this ain't gonna fly. The other Justin wasn't really doing too much. He was kind of just talking shit. Like, you ever seen that Caleb City video where he's pretending to be one of those soldiers that plays music on the battlefield? That's basically what that nigga Justin was doing. Anyway, I was like, I gotta get out of this situation. So when John started coming at me again, I socked this nigga in the chin. Then I started taking off. I didn't know where I was going, but I had to get out of there. And the yard duties, useless ass old ladies weren't doing anything. So it was me, myself, and I. So I was like, okay, I gotta think. So they're chasing me at this point around the playground. They probably think we're playing tag or something. I don't see Charles or Stefan anywhere. And then I hopped over this little fence, which would allow me to go to the office, and I ran to the principal's office, and I started telling him what was going on. And he just told me to be quiet and calm down. Like, nigga, what? So, even though I was freaking out, I did end up listening to the principal's unnecessary and, here I think, stupid orders to sit down and be quiet, quote unquote. The bell for recess eventually rang, and went back to class. I didn't really experience anything else from them in the classroom other than visible anger as they would constantly look over and glare at me, and I was fearing for my life because I had just watched this movie prior to starting school called Pay It Forward, where this kid, ends up standing up to these bullies, and in the end of the movie, they stab this nigga. Like, this poor little white kid, bro. Like, they jump him, and then they stab him. Like, and I felt like that was being recreated with me, and I didn't know if they had knives. I don't even know who these fools are. Again, who the fuck are Justin and Justin? But anyway, school ended up finishing, and they all went home, and I'm sitting outside waiting for my mom to come and pick me up. She sees that I'm visibly upset, and I proceed to tell her what the issue is, and let's just say the events that transpired after that changed a couple of things for my first grade year. Not to say I was bullied any less, but I went through somewhat of a training arc, I guess you could say. But yeah, my point in telling that story, I don't know why it came to me. It just popped into my head while I was in the bathroom. My point in saying all that, I guess, was just to say stand up for yourself, you know? I wasn't really doing that too much, mainly out of confusion, but even if that is the case, always defend your own self-respect. Have enough respect for yourself to stand up for yourself. That sounds kind of repetitive, but I hope you get my point. Anyway, I'm going to bring this episode of Talk and Draw to a close. It's a bit more energetic. It was fun to record, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, I hope you like the art. I don't know if you look at it, but if you do, hey, I appreciate it. I would also appreciate a like and a subscribe if you're new here. Anyway, I will talk to y'all later, and peace out.